Okay, so whenever it comes to Yuri on Ice, wonderful show, beautiful choreography, but that's all besides that. We're going to begin with episode 1. Literally, just the first minute of it is a nice cold opener and whatnot. It basically sets you up with the two main characters, Yuri and Victor. Granted, you don't know either of their names at this point, but who cares? Yuri and Victor. And it definitely does begin with the whole Yuri admires Victor shtick and whatnot, which explains the whole later on mentoree thingy. But and then they go right into the OP, which is interesting because of the fact that what the OP is. It's going on and on and on and on about how they were born to make history and how if they just go for it, then they'll make it happen and all that jazz. And, you know, it just fills you with hope and thinking, wow, this is going to be just wondrous. And these people are going to accomplish something. And then immediately after the whole opening and whatnot, we get a bit of a kick to the gut. Just a little bit in a way. Kind of brings you down from your emotional high in a sense and whatnot. Sets you up for basically how our Japanese Yuri he will be feeling for quite some time, in fact. And of course, one of the things that he was kind of messing with him and makes him think less of himself is the fact that this guy who's placing higher than him ends up kicking the door open to the stall, in the bathroom stall that he was crying in because, well, he messed up. His end goal right at the end, he was grasping for the, let's say, flying trapeze, grasping for the pole, and fell short a couple of inches and just fell into the net. Didn't succeed. Just flubbed it. And for him, this has him in an existential funk. And one of the things that he ends up actually talking about, or one short comment that really does say a lot about how he's feeling, is that there are going to be a lot of other talented skaters and whatnot, and he's just a dime a dozen guy. He doesn't really even matter in the grand scheme of things. He's just I was there. I wasn't all that special. Which I think a lot of people get that sort of thing, but that's a whole lot of hullabaloo, because, to be blunt, you can just surpass that. You don't have to be a dime a dozen. You can just figure out, it's difficult and oftentimes does involve talent and luck, physique and all that jazz, but for the most part, you can go beyond that which you yourself have defined for yourself. Which is funny, because that's exactly what I'm doing with YouTube, because otherwise I'd just be a dime a dozen geek. So after we see our walking, talking existential crisis leave the competition building, the next shot is of him arriving at a train station and being greeted by a very energetic lady. Okay, I probably should keep my glasses off for this. My bad. I forgot about the glaring crap. What I like about this sequence of events is that they introduce the town and basically everyone that's important to our main dude through a sequence of just offhand talk, the usual conversations that you would have when you arrive from being away for a long time. Are basically updates on, hey, what's going on? The ballerina, I'm here to pick you up because there's not too many people at the ballerina class, and the town's not doing so hot and all that jazz. And then you get his parents talking about how they've missed him, and then one of the characters says, all right, I've been wondering since you arrived in town with all those clothes on, take them off. And then she just rips them off. And suddenly, pudgy stomach. And his dad remarks, "Hey, you look like your mom now." And I'm going, "Oh, that's a death warrant, dumbass. That's gonna get you hurt really, really bad." That was pretty funny. But it does that right there shows you that the guy's let himself loose from the period of time wherein he was at the competition to when he arrived at the town, which means that maybe it's been a couple of months in between and he's just finally coming back and all that jazz. He does go and say his prayers at the little shrine for his dead dog and whatnot. They also establish the general layout of the town for the most part, kind of making the place feel like it exists. And more often than not, it is panning shots of things, but they are really, really beautiful pictures. And I'm just going, I like looking at the pretty pictures. Pretty pictures. Although, it's anime, you gotta save your budget wherever you can, whilst also trying to maintain, I guess the phrase is visual fidelity? Maybe perhaps not. Basically, the overall quality and whatnot. You gotta keep it entertaining, up until those moments of explosive increase in animation where, oh god. Wind effects. But yeah. Okay, before we get to what I would consider to be my favorite part of the episode, don't blame me, it's fucking beautiful. Basically, they establish some side characters at the rink and whatnot, giving it some life, making it feel, well, I guess the best way to call it is lived in, and as if there are people there running the thing, and that it's familiar. Trying to make the place feel familiar is a better way to put it. And all the while establishing even more so, well, actually, no, not even more so, just establishing, because this is when, I believe this is when they establish how much Yuri, Japanese Yuri, admires Victor. I mean, ever since he was a kid, a kid, he's been following this guy's career and just nerding out over the guy. I'm talking anything the guy does, he's like, "Ooh, Victor did this, Victor did that, ooh." He actually does that at one point. It's so cute. It's so freaking cute. He's like 12. And he's sitting on the bench facing this girl who is a part of the family that runs the place, the skating rink that he practices at. And he's just nerding out. It's so cute, so freaking adorable, man. I'm just like, I want to pinch his cheeks. And then we get a scene of Japanese Yuri doing his idol Victor's entire program. That was beautiful. Oh, that was beautiful. But it does make me wonder, how on earth did they pull it off? No, legitimately though, how did they pull off this level of animation and choreography? I mean, it reminds me of there's this one movie I was about. Reminds me of this one movie, Sword of the Stranger, where the choreography, well, in this one, the Sword of the Stranger, the fight choreography looks like a labor of love. And in Yuri on Ice, this first episode, they show that they really genuinely care about making a beautiful, beautiful ice skate scene. I don't watch ice skating, like figure ice skating, competitive ice skating, whatever the heck you call this stuff. I don't watch it. But as far as I'm concerned, this stuff is just, oh, it's so good. Oh, it's beautiful. And I'm curious as to how they found the time to do it, let alone the staff to do it, and how much. I mean, do they just have a massive budget and they can hire enough animators to be able to do this in time? Or did they just figure out the right mixture of people to just pull off what I can consider quite possibly the best animation I will see this year? And I'm talking about consistently throughout the entire series, because in the first sequence, it's its own shtick, its own thing. They keep doing this over and over again. And they'll have different songs and whatnot later on, with different programs. They have different programs later on, and it's actually different programs. And all this jazz, they do use some moves, but it makes sense considering it's ice skating. But they use them in creative ways, and I'm like, oh! It's wondrous. But that does beg the question, how are they going to make their money back? Are they going to be broadcasting this on TV all over the place? Although, if this ends up on Adult Swim and all that jazz, this ends up on American TV and it is brought here, I'll be going, yes! Yes! Let's get some actual recognition! After the sequence where we get to watch some very beautiful skating, we are introduced to these three adorable little tots, and, well, not tots, they're just kids. Based off of anime age and whatnot, they could very well be around the age of 10, and they're big fans, like, basically, they call them groupies of Japanese Yuris, and immediately after that scene, there's a scene of a video of what we just saw Yuri doing, uploaded to the internet. Yes, no doubt. And apparently it's gone viral, and guess whose fault that is? The little demons. The little gremlins. They did it. Fortunately, though, Mr. Victor has in fact seen said video, and suddenly decides to head on over to Japan and be Yuri's coach. Also, yaoi. Baiting. Plain as day. I'm sorry, but whenever you get a panning shot of a dude's ass, and then he goes full-on poses with the fountain covering his crotch, telling our main character, I will make you win the Grand Prix competition. Oh, yes. And that's where we end the episode off. Alrighty. If you guys like this whole thing, please do be telling me in the comments. Like and subscribe if you want to, that's up to you, but really what would matter to me on a personal level is if you were to share these videos wherever you can think of that is pertinent. Anywho's this has been Soul022 signing all the way off.